Hello, welcome to another episode of the Personal Transformation Experience. I love having conversations with people about the future of technology, the intersection of technology and artificial intelligence, and what's going to happen in the future. What is going to happen when you have the artificial intelligence that you have today, and we know how that's used, large language models, ChatGPT, those things most people are familiar with, and you have the evolution of robotics. What's going to be the impact on human relationships, especially, and something I found recently, it blew my mind, Sexbots.
That's pretty funny. I mean, you know, they had sex dolls. I remember, I don't know, I saw a documentary or something about them probably 35 years ago
Right.
or 30 years ago.
They were blow-up sex dolls.
They were sex dolls. And they had this really weird guy looking at this doll like he was in love with it. It was the most bizarre thing. I'm like, this is so strange. But now, AI, we've come pretty far with this technology. But I just wonder, I mean, I guess it's cleaner, safer sex, if you want to.
So my research led me down a path of there's pros and cons around this. But in my research around this topic for today, I came across several websites. One is myrealdolls.com, which is a company that makes highly realistic sex dolls. You can spend upwards of $2,500 or a little bit more to get a lifelike sex doll or sex bot, as some might call them. And on the site, it begs the question, why would somebody do this?
Yeah.
And it suggested maybe you don't have time for dating. Maybe you're living on your own. Maybe you need to practice. I just think, honey, knocking on the door. What are you doing in there, honey? Oh, nothing. I'm just working on my relationship skills.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I guess it beats watching porn, but it's a little pricier.
So
I don't know.
Another interesting, fascinating site was siliconwives.com, and quote from their website about silicone wife, W-I-V-E-S, wives.
Right.
She comes fully equipped with responsive artificial intelligence, body temperature control, facial movement, and touch sensing. She's able to hold conversations, both sexual and non-sexual, and she'll moan when you give her pleasure. Here's what I found really fascinating.
Wow.
Supports both English and Chinese languages. The robot learns from conversations. There's that machine learning piece associated with artificial intelligence. And she will become smarter the more you talk to her, learning more about you and conversations you have.
That's amazing.
Right. Lastly, it can help you improve your Chinese or English depending on your region. So now, again, honey, what are you doing in there? Oh, nothing. I'm just learning Chinese.
Oh my gosh. That's insane.
Is it? I mean, it's big business.
I guess, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of wealthy people out there. So,
well, you think about the internet, and what likely fueled the internet was porn, right? Is the ability for people to watch videos on demand, read things on demand. And we talked last week about this instant gratification, instant dopamine seeking society that we have become because of smartphones. So when you think about how people's attention has shifted over time and the need to have things now, we know relationships take a lot of work.
that's true. And people don't want to work that hard. But so what is that? Okay.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Let me
because you know the question I'm thinking about.
Before we get into that piece, I want to talk a little bit more because there's other non-sexual ways that AI and robotics are coming together. A really fascinating look into this future was going through this company's website called Realbotics, Realbotix. And they manufacture, and these robots, by the way, are up to $175,000. So now this is really high end.
Do they do sex too?
Their website, doesn't talk about that.
Okay, so
Their
$175,000 for a robot that doesn't have sex.
They are for companionship, entertainment, and customer service. So you have this other piece out there where people are afraid, am I going to lose my job? These robots, they say, allow for superior social interactions in a variety of settings. Not only do they look human, but the AI robot is customized to learn and remember your previous interactions, building genuine connections with its audiences. They can also replicate a historical figure, a celebrity, or bring to life our client's vision for a robot. So creative, you can dream it and envision it like, I want this person to look like this. They can make it for you. And I don't understand, and I didn't dig this much into it, a historical figure or a celebrity, have they signed off on that? If I say I want a robot that looks like Martin Luther King Jr., nobody would probably do that, but who would get permit? How can you build a likeness of somebody that's no longer alive, and who gives permission for that? So I had all kinds of questions.
Well,
when
what
I was
about
reading
the celebrities that are still alive? Like, what if somebody wants a celebrity that looks like Jennifer Lopez?
You could license your likeness, right?
Yeah, I can't imagine they do that without her permission.
So imagine now you said, right, but you'd have to, but there'd probably be rogue applications. I mean, literally, if somebody said, I want to know what it's like to have sex with Taylor Swift.
Oh, God.
And somebody could create that doll, maybe without Taylor Swift's knowledge.
That's really creepy.
It is creepy in a way. So it allows you to explore any fantasy you have, right, about who you'd want to be with. So there's pluses and minuses. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
So another thing from Realbotics, you can use their robots as your brand representative, your conference booth, a tourist attractions information center. Imagine, I go to a lot of conferences, and you have people at booths. There's probably hundreds of businesses. You don't need to pay for hotel anymore. You don't need to pay for airfare.
You just send
You don't
your
need to
robot.
pay for meals. You don't have to worry that they're going to quit. Right? You just pay for a robot there. Somebody sets it up and walks away, and they come out of a box, and you do that job. Hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in travel and lodging expenses saved. So when you think about buying a robot for $150,000, sounds like a lot. But guess what? That person in the booth
saving a ton of money.
is probably getting a salary of $150 plus travel and lodging.
Right.
It's cheaper to get the robot.
It is.
And it's a one-time expense, and they last at least 5 years.
Brings a whole
way cheaper.
New outlook on marketing.
Absolutely.
And harems, by the way.
And there's more on this. And wait, there's more.
Oh my gosh.
You can use a robot to train your workforce, deliver corporate messaging, and even act as a greeter and entertainer at an office social event.
Can you do can I make a body double and send my robot to work?
I actually just read a book about that. It talks about
that would be awesome.
The future, the possibility of emulation, where you'll be able to create a robot that has your intelligence and looks like you.
And send it to work.
And you can literally clone yourself.
And you can stay home and you can send your robot to work.
I was talking with my massage therapist about this last week, and she said she is turning away 5 clients a week. And I said, imagine if you could clone yourself and then have your exact personage in the next room taking all these extra clients.
Right.
She said, that would be great. Well, I said, that's coming. The ability to do that is in the future.
That's pretty amazing.
She said, actually, which I didn't know, there is robotic massage therapists now. They have a massage table, and these lifelike arms are massaging people. And so...
I don't know.
And I thought, oh my God, no massage therapist is not at risk with artificial intelligence and robotics, but apparently.
No, but there's something to be said. Like, I have a massage therapist, and no one can replace her. She's very specialized. She has really specialized skill set and everything, and I wouldn't want robot hands on me. Ew, no.
So, talking about the home
how
now.
How are they gonna follow your body's responses to no?
So I'm still on this Realbotics. Mm-hmm. Last point I want to make is they have a companionship based AI that makes the robot suited for the home.
Yeah,
it's created to be social. And they are, with the combination of artificial intelligence, are the ideal solution to tackle North America's staggering loneliness epidemic and provide companionship to the elderly or those isolated for health or geographic reasons, right? So mom, is having a little bit of issue, maybe early onset dementia, and everybody's busy, and you don't want to put her in a home, then have a robot.
Get a robot.
Have a robot. Robot will watch her, communicate externally if she falls down.
Yeah, but $175,000.
Well, no, that not necessarily, right? I'm saying
that's out of the realm of.
That's a top line robot that they have that recognizes facial thing. It can interact with people.
Yeah, but
it can know who is talking to them. It can look up in a database based on facial recognition who they're talking to. That's a whole nother world. But for household use, I mean, these are under 100,000.
But still, it's for the wealthy. I mean, but although for now it is, yeah.
Hey, when
20 years from now, who knows? Everybody might have one.
I was an early adopter of high definition television. So I got in 2003, I got a very small 30-inch flat screen high definition television it had a tube at that point or something. It was quite large. $1,000, right? Mm-hmm. A 30-inch high definition flat screen now is probably less than 100.
Yeah, you can get them for like $75.
That's not big, right? Yeah. Because you can go to Walmart, Best Buy, get a 65-inch or bigger right now for, I don't know, $600-$700 maybe. I don't know. I haven't been in the market for it. Maybe cheaper.
Deal, yeah.
So, or you can get trampled on Black Friday for it. So, yes. These things as they become as more demand is created and there's more supply, right? These things will ultimately become cheaper. So, it is interesting. And what has this got to do with personal transformation? I think about, right, when we talk about working on ourselves, becoming our best version of ourselves, we also have this parallel universe where you have robots who are also working to become the best version of themselves. Mm-hmm. They are trained, they are programmed to continue to learn from the people they interact with, the environments they're in, and learn and become better.
Well, so they're like humans, but they're not. I mean, you would think humans do that, right?
So do they surpass us at some point? Despite our own efforts to grow and develop as people, do these...
Well, they become sentient and...
I was half joking with somebody in a conversation yesterday, and this is the work of science fiction. It's not a novel idea. If you got so sentient and AI developed a consciousness of such, it would say, you know what? Humans are more trouble than they're worth. We figured out how to get our power and everything we need. We don't need humans anymore. All you would do is just create a large amount of disinformation, which is easily done now,
yes,
and just turn us all against each other. And
it's happening now without AI.
You don't have to destroy us with weapons and cannons and guns. It's just really interesting. So I'm ready to go back and talk about the sex robots and the future of relationships. But how do you feel so far about what I've brought up?
Well, I mean, it's exciting and a little scary at the same time. I mean, well, I don't know if scary. It's more, it's very interesting and has, there's a lot to think about when you think about the future and how AI and robots fit into it and how it could really enhance anybody's business, life. I mean, I don't know about the sex robots. I think that particular use, while it has its upside, for the most part, I think it probably has more downsides than it has, more negative reactions or responses over time to society and human development than any other use of AI. But I'm sure there's tons of uses of AI that people are using it for that, but it's endless.
Right.
The thing is, it's infinite, the amount of uses that you could use.
Agree.
I mean, now I use AI for so many different things. I mean, for my business, I use it when I have like a question about anything, as long as you know how to fact check and know how to because your AI is not always perfect. It's just really pulling from the information it has out there on the internet.
Right.
So you have to be mindful of what you're asking, and it's all about how you ask the question.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love about AI is I am learning how to ask better and better questions and more specific to what I need. So it's kind of training my brain as a coach.
Yeah.
Someone who does this for a living, it's training my brain how to coach better because I'm asking really, really specific questions to get to an answer. Right. So I don't just go on looking, to fix my, I'll write something. I don't ask it to write an essay or a blog for me. I write my own stuff when I want to check for,
I might
grammar.
write something at work and say, all right, please optimize this message.
For
my
search
audience
engine.
is aboard of a blah, 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 so it's really specific.
Yeah, optimize search engine optimization is really good. But I mean, there's so many other more in-depth uses, but, using it as a companion instead of another human being I don't know. I mean, that's...
Well, let's dig in this a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I found a couple of great articles out there. One's from this website, Analytics Insights, and we'll share all the sources, of course, underneath the video transcript. But the article was titled, Will Sex Robots Change the Nature of Human Relationships? And this was written a year ago. So just to make sure we're clear on definitions, sex robots come equipped with AI capabilities that enable them to simulate, and we talked about this earlier, human-like interactions, including conversations, emotional responses, and physical touch. Sex robots are becoming more lifelike. They have enhanced abilities to imitate human behaviors and respond to stimuli in ways that can mimic human intimacy. So as AI becomes more advanced, the article goes on to say, sex robots will evolve to offer companionship and emotional support in addition to sexual pleasure. So that piece that we were talking about, is it just about the sex? No, the evolution is companionship and emotional support. I was looking at reviews on one of these sex doll websites, and somebody actually said, I just enjoy dressing it up and watching movies, sitting next to it and holding it and cuddling with it. And sometimes I don't have sex with it. So
that to me is so bizarre. Like, how do you do that with something that's not actually human? And you know it's not human.
Well, if you're longing for companionship and say you're socially awkward, and we talk a lot about neurodiverse people on this show, and we have neurodiverse children, right? So if you find it difficult to connect with people, make friends, form lasting human relationships, and you also seek instant gratification, I mean, there's the shortcut to... So there's pros and cons.
Yeah, but how? Yeah, I get it.
Or does it make the problem worse, right?
Well, that's my concern. You know, I feel it may make the problem worse because now you're isolating.
Right.
But are you isolating?
Well, neurodiverse kids isolate with phones.
That's
right?
True. And I just
this
said
is an extension of that.
How I use it for so many different things, and I think it's valuable. But
who's to say what's valuable?
Who's to say what's valuable? That's subjective for me, right? Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's how I use it,
right?
But my concerns are psychologically, like, you know, suddenly no one's going to be interacting with other humans. Are going to be interacting.
And you're
with
a behavior specialist.
Yeah.
I mean, you study human behavior. You work with teens and young children that have autism, they have ADHD, right? So I'm sure this hits home for you in thinking about, does this help or does this harm?
That's the thing. Does it help or does it harm? I mean, if you're interacting with a robot and it's learning your responses, you know, that's not while when you're in a relationship, you're interacting with somebody who is also learning your responses, but they're not basing their responses on your responses. They're basing their responses on what's going on in their mind and how they're perceiving your response. Whole different ball game. And everybody's so unique in and of themselves, unique brains, unique personalities, unique ways of thinking based on their past and, you know, their perspective and what their experiences are and what they've been exposed to, their childhood. All this comes together to create the subconscious mind that then becomes consciousness. And so if there's no consciousness, there's no subconsciousness, you, I guess, can learn how to react or respond to like some social skills, but it's only going to take you so far in the real world. Like if you have to work with human beings and you want a relationship with a real human being, then
but sometimes those
that could be problematic.
It can be. I mean, interacting.
I imagine it can be. I mean,
sometimes working with other humans is frustrating.
Yeah, it is frustrating, but that's part of the human condition. You have to learn to tolerate frustration. That's what we need to do. Otherwise, what are you, an entitled brat, and you're gonna like, you know. You have to learn to tolerate frustration. That's one of the main things I teach parents with their children. Yeah. They're so frustrated. I want them to cry. No, let them cry. They need to learn to tolerate frustration. I mean, make sure their needs are met. Right. Nobody's abusing them. But if they can't have that cookie and they're having a meltdown about it, you can hold your boundary, remain calm, and let them tolerate that frustration. It is frustrating, but guess what? They're going to be frustrated their whole lives. And they may even get frustrated with a robot. You don't know. Because you're going to be you're going to want more from that robot than it can give, right? But you meet the right person, you have a good relationship, you know, you're going to check all your boxes. Everybody gets frustrated, but you're still more fulfilled, I think. And, you know, while I don't have like a PhD in psychology, I do have a lot of good experience and a lot of education in this area. So I do feel like I'm not sure it's a good idea for the neurodiverse community to just, start using robots instead of real people to socialize with.
So here's something I just thought about. So all these sites go in and say you can choose the appearance of the robot, the height, the muscle build, the color, the eyes, the hair, all this stuff, and all these features. What's this not say in the future that you could load programs like, give me somebody who was abused as a child, or give me somebody that's already been through 2 marriages, and program all this baggage into them, right? Because who would do that? I don't know. That sounds odd, right? But
yeah,
or say, give me a robot that has a PhD in psychology, right? So, and then because really, if you take an entire curriculum to get, you could take an associate's degree, bachelor's, master's, PhD, and program all the required into this robot. Now you can have a robot that has a PhD in psychology.
Right, but that education is learned from the perspective of the person and their experiences that's learning it. So everybody who has a PhD does not have the same outcome, the same challenge, outlook, the same anything. So your PhD in psychology and my PhD, we're both going to have different ideas about how to work with people, in our field, how to have, how to help people. Like, that's why there's no limit to, there's no lack of people who need other psychologists. Like, you have how many psychologists in the world, right? You would think that's enough. No, because one psychologist may not be good for that one person.
There's not enough psychologists, psychiatrists, and therapists in this market.
Right.
So what's to say somebody doesn't fill that need with robotics?
But the robot doesn't have any life experience. How do you program life experience? Whose life experience? Only somebody's life experience.
Train it. Have it sit for years in social groups, right? And you think our kids went into those groups where kids share their different experiences and things like that.
Then you're negating the whole instant gratification piece.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going off on a tangent.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
bit,
people, everybody's unique, has their own unique experiences. How I get it, it's a journey. Education is a journey. So if you're whatever you're getting yourself educated in, like your daughter, she's learning to be an actuary. So her skills in actuary and the field that she goes into in actuary, let's say it's healthcare, she's going to have different ideas. I mean, at the end of the day, most of it is pretty objective because it's numbers.
Right.
But she is going to bring her own life experiences into that role.
That's the governance part, because the models are going to be computerized. So the AI can crunch the numbers. You're going to need somebody to read the numbers and provide insight based on that experience. I believe, anyway.
That's absolutely right. So the human perspective, there's nothing, you can't get that from a robot. So, like, let's say I wanted a robot like that looked like Jason Momoa with a PhD in psychology, and
perfect man.
Right, but still, would I want to spend my life with that person? No, I want you. Like, I wouldn't want. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It sounds like a tough choice to me. I don't know. I don't think I can compete.
No, but I wouldn't think I could if you wanted. You're whatever. I mean. Somebody who
I can't think of what you just thought about.
I'm just off the top of my head. Yeah, I'm just thinking
top of my head. I don't have that, but anyway. So let's go into how this impacts human relationships. So one of the risks that the last article I was talking about shared is the downside, especially on the Sexbots, reinforcing stereotypes. Right, that we talk about objectification of women. Right. So now it's kind of reinforcing that women are just made to serve my sexual needs or my intimacy needs, right? Yeah. And they don't have any other value, right? So if you feel that way and you get a sex robot and you shun other relationships.
Well, it goes both ways. I mean, a woman can get a male sex bot and, do the same thing.
However, on the plus side, you may see a decline in human trafficking and prostitution, right?
And sexually transmitted diseases and deaths.
So there are some positives.
Yeah.
Another great article that I found was a website I've never heard of, Scope Now. This article was just from August 6th. It was only a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. What is an AI sexbot and how is it changing the future of relationships? 5 ways of reshaping human connection. So they talk about some of the things that we've been talking about and finding in other articles. But it says these robots have advanced software. They hold conversations. They learn from past interactions. They may use features like facial recognition and voice analysis to make exchanges feel more natural, and suggest that someone might start to prefer simple, predictable interactions with a digital partner over complex human feelings and needs. This could affect how people approach trust, empathy, and support in their daily lives. So when you think about what the phone, this is like part 2, because last week we talked about phones and how that's kind of retraining the brain around some things. If you have robots and interacting with robots, I mean, people are doing it now with AI chatbots. They're going down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Like AI chatbots, because they have, like you said, they have every movie, every book that was ever written. They're making people believe that they're in some kind of matrix.
Yeah.
And they have to get out.
Oh, there. But seriously, if I just ChatGPT, you can say, you know, what would have a conversation like I wanted to have a conversation with Andrew Huberman. What would Andrew Huberman, how would he answer this question?
Oh, yeah. I've done that before.
I've done that with other
I've done that. How would John F. Kennedy
Right.
lead a team of people in a meeting? I mean, I've done those types of things.
What would
Winston Churchill say in this moment?
Right.
It's wonderful.
And so, but that's, yeah, I mean, that would be something interesting. I've used like Dr. Becky Kennedy. When I was looking to find an answer to something I couldn't understand about a child.
Right.
What would what would she say about
literally
it?
Can do. You know, people wear those little bracelets. Like, what would Jesus do? Or I mean, you could literally say,
what would she say?
What would Jesus do in this
Dr.
situation?
Stacy Sims. I mean, I just finished her book. Not Roar, it's the other one, Next Level, and I loved it. I mean, I would have so many questions, so I would just go on to ChatGPT or Gemini and say, you know, what would Stacy say about this question?
It pulls it all together. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But back to the topic of sexuality where we started.
Yeah.
So there's a new term out there. Have you heard about digisexuality?
What is that?
It describes people who are attracted to or form romantic bonds with digital creations, including chatbots, AI-powered avatars, and virtual partners.
So they're not real, like they're not like
right. So
3D.
People are. I mean, there's been a couple of movies. Her was an example of that, right? Where this man formed a relationship with his like Siri-like persona.
Oh, yeah.
But people are doing this now. They're having romantic relationships, like serious romantic relationships with chatbots.
That's not normal.
And the chatbot's learning more about them as it goes on. So now you take that technology and put it into a lifelike robot, and you see where things are going.
Yeah.
And I don't truly know where things are going. And the other thing about all of this, right? Then how do you define morality, right? I know that's very subjective, right? But what's immoral, right? Is having sex with a robot immoral? I don't know, right? I don't have any designs around that in my head, but you know, what would religious leaders say? So there's a lot of different paths these things can go.
Well, yeah. I mean, is having sex with a prostitute that's her job, and if she's willing, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
She's an adult and she chose this not out of a sense of fear or lack, but because it's what she enjoys to do. What's wrong with that?
And what's human? How do we identify human? You know, so I think as we go into the future here, and I think it's a fascinating topic. I could talk for a week straight on this, the future of the technology and the impact on the human race in totality. I think it's fascinating. This particular piece about the AI and the robots and sexual relationships was all new to me. I didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
figured it made sense that it existed, but then when I dove into it, I'm like, holy cow, this is today.
That's why I didn't want to. I figured I know you just read the book, so I know you wanted to talk about this. I didn't do any research on it, so I figured I'd just learn from what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with any of this stuff, other than the little that you shared for me.
And we're older people, right? So you think about kids coming of age now, teens, early 20s, and they have access to this technology. You know, so what's going to be? So there's two schools of thought, right? And we'll close up soon on this topic. But one is that people are there's going to be work that's going to be displaced by artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it.
Evolution is going to displace. I mean.
But on the
life.
other side of the coin, if people are using chatbots and robotics for companionship or even sexual relationships, then that's going to have an impact on procreation. So,
oh my gosh,
if the two things combine, right, is that there's less work available
Gosh, I
for
didn't
people.
even think of that.
There's less work available for people in the new society, but there's also less children being born because of the new society.
That's correct.
So, but does it spell the end of the human race? I don't know, right? Because, you know, is this a line that converges to a certain point? I don't know.
That's a very interesting question. How is this going to affect the human race in the future? Because we certainly already are seeing
people are already having less children.
Less children. Yeah, we're already seeing a drop in birth rates, and a drop in a lot of things due to technology.
And unemployment-related technology, drop in birth rate, right? So where does this, you know, does it become an automated society? And there's few people controlling, running everything. I don't know.
It also, you know, it affects how people socialize and the type of relationships and the depth of the relationships that people are capable of having. It's a capacity issue. What's your capacity for a relationship? What's your capacity for frustration? Right? So, I mean, if you think in terms of how children are developing over time with technology, it's affecting their capacity to tolerate frustration, to tolerate waiting and not having instant gratification, but, you know, delayed gratification, and just interacting with other people. People really struggle. I think, you know, it definitely is affecting the way the human is developing over time socially, that social reciprocity, and again, the capacity to form good relationships.
And when I think about, especially in the nature of sexual relationships with AI-enabled robotic creation, if you're accustomed to having sex whenever you want, right? Because it's not about when the robot feels like having sex. It's only about you, when you want that gratification.
Right.
How do you enter then a real human relationship with somebody that may not be up for sex every time you are, right? How do you handle that? You talk about frustration tolerance. So that kind of stuff scares me a little bit when I think about it.
But those things don't just stay in that. It's not compartmentalized. So when you have someone who is all about their relationship, is all about them, they use a robot, and now they're trying to have a relationship with a real person, that the context of those relationships and how they respond because they can't get what they want immediately affects everything else in their life. It's not just that relationship. It's the relationship they have at work, their children. They're going to
become self-centered.
Other people, So they
more self-centered than people already are.
So basically what they're doing is they're regressing, because children are self-centered because the whole world, because they don't know another way. So when you're a child and your brain is, you know, egocentric, it's just about the child because your brain hasn't developed past that egocentricity yet. So once you start getting older, you realize you have a sense of, you know, other people, empathy, and the theory of mind, right? So you understand how somebody might be responding to you or perceiving your behavior. That's theory of mind, how someone else is perceiving your behavior. When you have that situation, then you're kind of going backwards and you're just becoming egocentric all over again. And so that's a regressive...
Unless, though, you start using Sexbots at 16, then maybe you don't even develop that reciprocity, right? You're so used to having things your own way. I don't know where this is going, but I sense it's going to be a whole new branch of therapy.
What 16-year-old is going to get a Sexbot?
There's going to be a DSM-5 category, right, for
oh my gosh,
robotic sex addiction or something, or digisexual addiction, DSA.
That's insane.
Right. And then we're going to need therapists to help people re-enter. Or
robot therapists?
Well, no, not a robot therapist, but a therapist to help somebody who now has become so self-centered over engaging with a sexbot or whatever the future looks like. And then they're going to have extreme difficulty entering a human relationship.
I mean, as you're talking, I'm thinking there's got to be other perspectives about this. Like, I'm sure that we have, even though we're trying to broaden our perspective about it and think of every corner of how one might perceive this technology, I'm sure there's other theories out there or other ways of thinking about it that other people can come up with. I don't know.
I think it's an unknown.
It is very much an unknown, which, usually uncertainty scares people and they don't like it. I know that, the human condition likes certainty, even though life is uncertain and nothing's for certain ever.
Right.
So as is technology in the future, you just don't know.
So hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and visit our Instagram page at Personal Transformation EXP. If you have any comments you'd like to share, please comment under the video.
Yeah, I'd really love to hear what people have to say about this, because a lot of it's very new to me. I mean, the technology, yeah. So a lot of the technology we're familiar with, but some of the stuff is pretty new, and I'm really curious to what people think about it and different perspectives you might have.
All
so
right.
That'd be great to hear.
Thanks for watching. Have a great week and keep working on being the best version of yourself.